Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to this month's Stop the Busyness webinar. This month, we are looking at ways how we can be more productive with all of our tasks, all of our projects, all of our to-do lists. And today, I want to share with you just two simple truths, a slightly different mindset so that you can perform and be at your productive best. Some of the things that we will cover in today's webinar: why trying to complete your entire task list leads to poor results, why you shouldn't try to tackle every single thing on your task list. I'm going to show you how to have the right mindset to identify your most important work. Sometimes we get caught in the trap that everything is equal, and we need to make important decisions so that we can perform at our most effective and productive best. And I'm also going to share with you some of the false statements that prevent us from being at our productive best. You've probably heard some of these phrases or some of these quotes before, and although the person who may be sharing them with you may have good intentions, I'm going to show you why some of these statements may be dangerous and actually prevent you from being and working at your productive best. My name is Scott Friesen, and I am the founder of Simpletivity Training and Consulting, and I refer to myself as a busyness killer. Busyness killer, what is that? Well, it absolutely pains me to hear people complain about how busy they are, because I know that there's a distinct and very important difference between being busy and being productive or being effective. So I help both individuals and organizations to be more productive instead of just being busy. As always, I welcome your questions and your comments. If you are watching this webinar live, I would encourage you to use the live chat here on YouTube. And if you're watching the recorded version, please leave a comment below, or you can use the hashtag #StopTheBusy on Twitter. I will be reserving some time at the end of today's session. We'll try to answer as many questions as I can, but feel free to leave a question or comment even if you are watching the recorded version of this webinar. So, where to begin when it comes to having the best mindset or the right frame of mind so that we can be at our productive best? Well, I couldn't really call myself a productivity expert or a professional in the field of time management and personal productivity if I didn't walk the walk, if I didn't actually apply these methods and also try a variety of different productivity methods in my own life. I have been reading, studying, applying, and teaching productivity to thousands of individuals for many, many years. But there's a particular experience that really stands out to me when it comes to trying to optimize my to-do list and how I came up with these two simple truths that we're going to be talking about today. So about 7 years ago, I came across a method that really intrigued me on how I could optimize my to-do list and make sure that I could accomplish as much as I would like to in a given day. And it involved a little bit of math, a little bit of simple math, which I was also intrigued by, that there was some sort of quantitative framework in this particular method of managing my tasks. Well, this is how it worked. This is how this particular method was outlined. I've got a hypothetical task list here just to use as an example as I share this story. So the first step in this process was to give each and every one of your tasks a time estimate. When you create that task, it was suggested that you should put a time estimate beside it. Now, I decided to be most efficient that I wouldn't give a unique time value to each and every task, but that I would sort of group them into 3 different buckets. I would give an estimate of 10 minutes to my shortest tasks. Even if I thought it was only going to take me 3 or 4 minutes to complete, I would give it 10 minutes to give it a conservative estimate, to build some buffer time in there. I would give anything between 10 and 30 minutes, say estimate of 30, and anything between 30 and 60, an estimate of 60 minutes. So my tasks might look something like this, a variety of 10, 30, or 60-minute tasks. Keeping in mind, I was being very conservative with my time. Even if something was going to take me only 40 minutes to complete, I would probably put a 60 beside it to allow some of that buffer time. So that was step one, give everything a time estimate. Step two was to look at your coming day, the following day, and to look at how many other commitments you already have on your calendar. So for example, you want to take all of your meetings, all of your phone calls, all of the things that are already taking out time out of your day, and subtract that out of your work hours. So for example, if you have an 8-hour or a 9-hour workday, you want to subtract out all of the meetings and other commitments that you already have. Do you already have a lunch date with someone? Is that going to take 30 minutes or maybe a full hour out of your day? You want to subtract out all those things where you cannot be accomplishing these tasks. And I think I also estimated roughly 60 to 90 minutes for email at that time as well, right? That I'm not going to put that on my to-do list, that those are activities that I need to get to. I want to subtract that out of my day. And as a part of this step two, you come up with your available time. How much time do you actually have to give to your tasks? Well, in this example, I had about 140 minutes. I had just over 2 hours to complete my work. So you simply go to your task list and you review what's more important, what's less important, and see if you can fill it up with 140 minutes or whatever sum you get to, whatever the difference is in your particular day, and fill it in with those tasks. Again, really intrigued by this concept because it applied a quantitative approach to your task list. It involves some simple math. I should be successful with this, shouldn't I? Well, I applied this for the first day, and I still had 1 or 2 things on my to-do list. I applied the same methodology, the same method for the second day, and I still had 1 or 2 things that I was not able to complete. I could not find time for those tasks. I continued with this method for nearly 3 months, and not once did I complete everything on a given day, despite doing the math, despite having conservative estimates with how long these tasks would take. I still ended up being short and would always have between 1 or 3 things left on my task list. Well, this really hurt my productivity, not so much because I wasn't completing everything on that to-do list, but I was starting to leave the office. I was starting to leave my work with my head hung low. It was really starting to weigh on me. It was starting to sadden me. I was starting to feel a little depressed because each and every day, it was as if I was not accomplishing my goal. I was coming up short on a regular basis. And I've discovered over the years that this is a key reason why so many of us complain about how busy we are. We are not accomplishing the things that we want to. We are trying desperately or too hard to accomplish everything on our to-do list. And it is leaving us with a depressing, saddening, sickening feeling in our minds, in our guts, as we go about the rest of our lives. So not only is it hurting us in the workplace, not only is it hurting us in our professional lives, but it tends to have a lingering effect. And maybe it can even affect our personal to-do list, even the things that we want to do in our personal lives, if we are continually falling short. So today I want to show you a better method, a better mindset as you go about your work. No matter what you do for work, no matter what industry you're in, you can apply this mindset and these two simple truths. What are they? Well, the first truth is this: you will never complete everything you want to do. Now, you may sound that sounds like a bit of a depressing statement right there. I'm going to dive more into that in just a minute. The second truth is this: right now, something is more important than everything else. It may seem almost too simple, but too often we ignore this truth along with the one above, and that gets us into productive trouble. It doesn't allow us to be at our effective best and accomplish all the things that we would like to do. So let's look at that first truth in a bit more detail. The first truth: you will never complete everything you want to do. Here's why. You are an innovative and creative individual. You are coming up with amazing solutions to problems. You are coming up with new ideas, new ways to solve issues, new ways to strengthen your teams, new ways to move your business forward, maybe a new side project that you are thinking about. You are constantly coming up with new ways to do your work and new ways to solve existing problems. Scientists have estimated that we have, on average, 50,000 thoughts per day. Let me shout out that number one more time: 50,000 thoughts per day. And we're not talking about the more menial things like brushing your teeth or driving a car, right? These are automatic things. They don't really require much thought at all. No, these are 50,000 unique thoughts that you have each and every day. If I was to give you a blank piece of paper and ask you to write down all of the things that are on your mind right now, and all the things that you would like to do today, all the things that you would like to do this week, this month, this year, in your career, it might take you several hours to fill up multiple pages, all the things that you would like to do. Well, the most successful people and the most productive people do not put much weight on getting everything done. They put most of their weight on getting the right things done. They say no to an awful lot of good ideas. They say no to very good ideas so that they can say yes to great ideas, so that they can say yes to fantastic ideas. So I want you to stop trying to complete absolutely everything that pops into your mind. Stop trying to complete absolutely everything that's in your notebook or in Evernote or whatever you use to keep all of your ideas and to keep track of all of your to-dos. Stop trying to complete everything. I want you to complete the right things. Now, you've probably heard this phrase or this quote sometime before. It's often attributed to Mr. Benjamin Franklin. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Now, I'm sure Mr. Franklin had good intentions when he uttered these words. And I'm sure if someone has shared them with you, or if you've read them in an article, that they probably had some genuine good intentions as well. But if you take this piece of advice literally, you will suffer the consequences. There is so much that you could do today. There is so much on your list that you could do before you retire to your bed tonight. And that is not going to make you the most productive person. It's not going to make you the most effective person either. Because if we try to cram in as much stuff as we possibly can in a single day, it leads to sloppy work. It leads to errors. It leads to rushing through things. It leads to very, very poor quality. So I'm here to tell you that sometimes one of the best things you can do is to defer some of your work until tomorrow, or until a later date. Sometimes you need to extend that meeting. Sometimes you need to go beyond that 1 hour limit you've given yourself on a particular task or a particular project and keep working on it because it is more important than the other things on your to-do list. So do not take this advice to heart. Feel confident in putting some things off until tomorrow. Even if you have the time, other parts of your work may be sacrificed or may suffer if you have this particular mindset. Trying to complete everything leads to sloppy work, and sloppy work leads to poor results. And what do poor results lead to? Poor results lead to stress. None of us want to produce sloppy work, and we hate receiving work or work that we've paid for that's been done in a sloppy or unprofessional manner because it leads to poor results. It means that someone is going to probably have to do it over again, or we may need to hire someone else to do the exact same job. And as a result, those poor results lead to stress, not only for the person who is receiving the outcomes of that work or that job, but also the person who has produced it. I'm sure you can probably think of an example in your life where you've done something and have not given it the effort or energy that it deserved, and you submitted it anyhow, and that probably caused some stress in your life. And we all know that we don't need any additional stress in our lives, in our careers, particularly in our personal lives. So stop trying to complete everything. You don't want to submit sloppy work. You don't want to receive poor results, and you don't want any additional stress for yourself or those that you work with. I want you to stop trying to get everything done, and I want you to start focusing on getting the right things done. Remember, the person who sends the most emails today is not the most productive. The person who makes the most phone calls today is not the most productive. The person who spends more of their time in meetings today will not be the most productive. Instead, start focusing on getting the right things done, not just more. And that leads us to simple truth number 2. Right now, and at any given point in time, something is more important than everything else. Too often, as I'm working with clients or as I'm working with teams, I find that they put too much emphasis on all of their tasks. They start treating their tasks as equals. And we know this not to be true, but it can be really difficult. It can be really hard to fight this urge and to look at our task list. Maybe it consists of 7 items, 10 items, 15 items, and fool ourselves into thinking that as long as we're crossing something off, we must be having a productive day. But that's simply not true if you're not getting to your most important work. Nothing is exactly equal. And that is particularly true when it comes to our projects, when it comes to the things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. At any given point in time, something is more important than something else. You just simply can't have 7 high priority items because of those 7 high priority items, one of them is more important than the other 6. So it's so important to keep this in mind that nothing is exactly equal. So you're probably asking yourself, how do I identify my most important work? It sounds like I should be prioritizing everything on my list. Is that what you're saying, Scott? Should I look at my list of 10 tasks and start writing down 1, 2, 3, all the way through 10 so I can stack rank or prioritize all of my to-dos? Well, that's one way that you could do it. But I'll tell you from experience, it is not an efficient way, it is not an effective way to manage all of your tasks. The much more effective way to identify your most important work is to select 2 the day before. No more, no less. Select the 2 most important tasks that you need to complete tomorrow. 2 tasks that you're going to give 100% of your attention before you get to anything else, and preferably before your first meeting or before your first phone call or other commitment. What we want to do is separate our should do's from our could do's, the things that we absolutely need to get done, things that are really valuable to our business, valuable to our team, valuable to our customers, and separate that from the things that we could possibly defer to another day or nice to have when it comes to our to-do list. Now, some of you may be asking, why 2? Why not just select the most important thing on our to-do list and start there? I will tell you why. As human beings, we love choice. We like being able to make decisions, particularly when it comes to stressful or pressure situations. So by selecting your 2 most important tasks, when you start your day tomorrow, when you sit down to your laptop or your desk or wherever your place of work is located, you still have a choice as to which one you will start with first. You see, at any given point in time, our energy levels vary, both mentally and physically. Perhaps you've just come out of a very stressful meeting, a phone call that didn't go very well, or maybe you just came out of a meeting that went extremely well. This all has an effect on how you tackle your work and what you decide to do next. So by already selecting that both of these tasks are very, very important, you really can't go wrong as to which one you start with. But by giving yourself a choice of 2, it really helps prevent the temptation to procrastinate or to move on to some other task. You've already limited yourself to just 2 options, but you still have a choice. So select them the day before. It could be at the end of your workday, or it could be before you go to bed, but select it before you start your workday so that you know exactly what is more important than everything else on your list. So the 2 truths. 1, you will never complete everything you want to do, and that is okay. It is actually going to make you more productive and more effective so that you can focus on your most important work. And number 2, right now and at any given point in time, something is more important than everything else. Stop treating all of your projects or all of your tasks as equal. Something is much more important than everything else. Look at your task list, look at your projects from that point of view. So, if you haven't submitted a question already, I would encourage you to do so. You can use the live chat function here on YouTube. If you're watching the recorded version, please leave a comment or use the hashtag #StopTheBusy on Twitter. So first question I see here is, Scott, do you limit yourself to a certain number of tasks per day? Great question. Short answer is no. I do not start my day and say, I'm only going to do 10 things today, or 7 tasks is the ideal number of tasks for me. A couple of reasons. Number 1, different tasks take a different amount of time. So there really isn't a magic number for me. There is not a magic number for you. What I do is separate my should do's from my could do's. I make a very distinct decision, a very distinct distinction, I should say, between what is my most important, my most valuable things for today, and then everything else. So often I'll have a list that contains today's items. I've already separated out my top 2 or my most important 2 tasks. And then I may have a few other things that I need to get done and want to get done today. And if I get through those 4 or 5 tasks, I'll move on to sort of a secondary list. You could almost think of it as like a B list. So make sure that you have that distinction between what's most important, what's most vital, and then everything else. And one of the great things from a motivation standpoint is it can actually be a bit of a bonus when you get to those tasks that you hadn't anticipated getting to today, but you've still found time for them. Another question here is, how should I determine which of my tasks are truly most important? And that's a great question. How do you identify which of your tasks should be those top two? Which should be those two that you highlight the day before? Well, I would advise that, again, you take some separation. You filter out some of your tasks, and you want to separate the more menial, the more recurring tasks from your day from the ones that are more value added, the ones that are really pushing your business, that are really pushing your work, your team, your customers in a new and much more profitable or much more value added direction. So what do I mean by that? Well, email is probably a really good example. We all need to deal with email throughout the day, but no one is pushing the envelope with their email communication. So that's something that you need to get to, you need to do on a recurring basis, but that would never be one of my top two tasks for the day. Maybe you have a dashboard or some other document that you need to contribute to, you need to add some numbers, or you need to add some feedback to on a daily basis or on a regular basis. Don't put that as one of your top two things. Yes, it's maybe a certain level of importance. It's keeping your business running. It's helping the communication amongst members, but that's not a top two priority list. That's not something that's really pushing your business forward. That's not a vital project. So make sure you try and separate between the more recurring, more menial tasks with things that are really vital, really important for your team or for your business at this time. Well, we're almost at the end of today's session, and I want to leave you with a question of my own, and that is, do you want to be more productive, either in your work life or in your personal life? If the answer to that question is yes, I would encourage you to check out the Simpletivity.com website. It is full of techniques, of tips, of ways that you can be more productive, both in your professional life and also in your personal life. And if you like short videos that can help you be more productive, I would encourage you to subscribe to the Simpletivity YouTube channel. There is a new video, at least one new video, each and every week, some short, some longer, more tutorial format to help you be at your productive best. I want to thank you for joining me at this month's Stop the Busyness webinar, and I hope you have a very productive day.